Hi there. Welcome back to the Creators MBA show. This is Dr. Destiny Kopp, and I'm super excited that you are joining me here today. And this episode is a little different. It's a recording from one of our Weird Hermit Roundtable discussions. So that's our mastermind group, and we sat down to get real about the messy side of running an online business. Difficult clients, refund requests, payment plans that ghost you, employees who snap, customers who buy domain names to smear you. Yes, all of that has actually happened, and you're going to hear the story. So the conversation goes deep on refund policies, what boundaries people have set after getting burned, and the mindset shifts that helped us stop letting this stuff live rent-free in our heads. And the one thing that came up in this conversation, something the group actually called out by name, is what would Destiny do? And I put together a free Claude skill based on exactly the kind of situations I have experienced. So you paste one prompt into the Claude skill, describe your messy situation, the difficult client, the refund demand, the threatening email, the boundary you don't know how to enforce, and it walks you through the same way I would handle it. To grab this, go to destinycop.com/WWDD. All right, let's get into it.
Welcome to our guests who are joining us. If you haven't been to one of these roundtables before, this is our mastermind. It's part of our, it's half of the people that are in our mastermind, but the ones that can make it today, we call ourselves the Weird Hermits. And we just like to have these live roundtables to share different topics and our takes. I think it's always helpful to see how other people are running their businesses. So we're going to kick this off by having everyone introduce themselves. So Kate, if you want to go ahead and kick us off, that'd be great.
Okay, great. Hi, everybody. I'm Kate Kordsmeyer. I run Success with Soul, which helps people create high profit, low maintenance businesses without social media.
All right, Destiny.
Yeah, hi, my name is Destiny Kopp, and I have two brands that I manage. I have a hobby school where we do online learning, virtual summits, and all types of fun type hobbies. And then I have my personal brand, which is my Creators MBA brand, where I help digital product creators get that consistent recurring revenue in their business.
Fantastic. Bruce.
Hi, everyone. I am Ruth, and I help people to grow and sell in their business in a way that doesn't require them to be on all the time.
Awesome. Jordan.
Hey, y'all. I'm Jordan Gill, founder of System Save Me, and I frolic. But right now, what I'm doing is I am helping people build micro tools using AI. Most people understand it as vibe coding if you're in the techie world, but if you're not, then it's basically just creating little apps that people will pay you for and that will help supplement your other expertise that you do, whether it's services or courses or whatever.
Fantastic. Faith.
I'm Faith Mariah. You can find me at faithmariah.com. I run a mastermind for women that want to grow their business in community and start making consistent income. And we do 90-day planning and basic business strategy as well as mindset.
Awesome. And I'm Liz Stapleton. I run Creator Ops Hub, where I help creators build systems that run their businesses so they can scale without chaos. And then over on my other brand, elizabethstapleton.com, I use my background as an attorney to teach on the legal side of running an online business. So today's topic for our panel is difficult clients, refunds, and really the dark side of entrepreneurship, which definitely doesn't get talked about as much, even though we all experience it. I don't know if, because I don't use Zoom anymore. Is anyone able to turn off the sound when someone's coming in? I don't know if that's possible. It's very distracting. But yeah, so while we try to figure that out, let me go ahead and bring up our first question that we're going to be starting with. And if you guys have questions for us, please drop them in the chat. I'll be keeping an eye out there for questions. I've come up with some. We've received some ahead of time. But if you have them, let us know in the chat. I'll be keeping an eye on it so that we can answer them as well. The first question is, what's the hardest client situation you've had to navigate? Anyone want to kick us off?
I can throw my hat in the ring, having been in business for 10 years. I would say probably one of the hardest ones was when I was doing VIP days. I had someone who, while I was on the call, like just didn't believe in the work I was doing while I was on the call, which is a very strange experience where, at the time I was building out people's client management systems. And so I'm sitting there, I'm talking with her, getting her information, building at the same time. And she just kept saying, I don't think you're going to get it done in time, like literally throughout the entire call. And we got about halfway through and I said, hey, maybe today is like not the day. Like I'm feeling like something's going on I'm not privy to, which is totally okay. I don't need to know all the information, but let's just put a pause in it and let's reschedule for another day that you feel more confident in like the work we're doing together. So we got off a call and then she proceeded to email me and say, okay, I'm filing a dispute because you didn't get everything done that we were supposed to get done. And I said, if we remember the conversation, we're going to reschedule and do it on a day that feels really good for you. So then she went ahead and filed the dispute. And I was like, okay. So I sent in the information to PayPal and I won, which says a lot because PayPal never gives you money back. And then she proceeded to say that she was going to create and this was honestly before a lot of people even knew who I was. So it's fascinating. But she said she was going to create an entire webinar called Celebrity Scammers. And she was going to have my face be the face of it. And was going to share it in a Facebook group of 10,000 people who also had been scammed before by people and yada. She actually had bought the domain name systemscamedme.com. And she went down the crazy, and I was like, whoa. And what's even crazier is I was literally about to launch what became my like signature program Done Today that next week. And also the pandemic was happening. So many things were happening at the same time. And she tried to file another PayPal dispute. And I was like, absolutely not with this craziness. And so what was funny is she just, if you don't pay it back for me, this is going live on Tuesday. And I said, bring it on. And I just stood my ground because I had been bullied like in my younger years. So I was like, I felt like I was standing my ground like now. And she never put it out there. She never put anything on the page. She never did the webinar, never did any of those things. I'm not saying that, oh yes, thank you, Faith, for explaining what my website actually is. It's not systemscammy.com. But so yeah, it was a lot of talk. But at that point, it just shook me at that point because I'm like, I'm about to go and sell this VIP day program and talk about how great VIP days are while this somewhat unhinged human is like literally trying to attack me when I was just trying to figure out a better way for us to get the work done because that day just didn't seem like her day. So I would say that's very far on the spectrum, friends. So I share that story to be like, what you're probably going to experience is a little on the lighter side of that. But also know that I've continued to have a business 6 years after that, and who knows what she's doing with her life. But yeah, been through some interesting experiences. I would say that's definitely in the top.
Imagine if she put all that effort into the day she had with you to actually get work
that I'm saying. Like, I was like, we have 3 more hours together. Like, you probably spent at least 3 hours buying the domain, putting these slides together with my face. And like, you're like obsessing over me in like this weird way. So it was very odd. I was like, we could wrap this up. Like, we could make it positive, but apparently not.
Gotcha. Does anyone else have a worst or hardest situation you've been in that wants to share? Not like that. I feel like Jordan wins that.
I take
not
the crown.
A competition.
I will say, Liz, my agreement is what saved me in all the PayPal. I worked with an attorney, obviously, for my VIP day agreement. And that's genuinely what saved me. Like, she was helping me with a lot of the conversation and how to communicate well and stuff. But my agreement was 100% what saved me. And so I'm like, guys,
have contracts, have policies, make sure they have to agree to them before they can buy.
Yep.
So what you're saying is your next site is going to be called Contract Save Me.
We can collab
Me and
on
Liz
that.
will tag team.
I was going to say, Liz, when you asked this question, like Jordan just shared the perfect example. I was like, I can't think of anything. I have since thought of some stuff, but what was interesting to me as I was going through my thought process was I remember times when things were happening or a client accused me of something or said, I only care about money when I upheld a boundary about being paid for the work. Or when I've run a summit and they're saying, you're deliberately trying to overwhelm neurodivergent people, that really hit me. But like things like that, sometimes at the time can feel so big to me as a sensitive person. And it's just funny to reflect on, like, when you're saying, oh, what's the worst things that happened? I'm like, oh, I don't even remember. And it's just, that's the really interesting part of it, right? Sometimes at the moment, these things are so huge and so difficult, and we don't know how to deal with it or to take this, what feels like an attack on us or like our character or whatever. And then it's no big deal when you look back and we can laugh about, like, Jordan, I'm sure that you were very stressed in that situation, but it is a great story now. Like, it's interesting and it's all part of the journey, isn't it?
Yeah. I think I told you about this, Ruth, where like last week I came across an article written about me of like review of Liz Stapleton, her membership. And it was like a 600-word article, and I didn't actually check it. This person specifically said it in the article because they had, I don't know when they wrote the article, probably right after it happened, but I looked back to figure out what this was from. And it was like over a year ago. I just happened to stumble upon this article now where they were in the membership. They had a renewal, which, by the way, I have things turned on. So a week before the renewal goes through, they get notified. I'm not trying to pull one over on anybody. But in my terms, my refund is 7 days from the initial purchase. It does not apply to renewals. And they wanted a refund. And I said, no. And they're like, I'm just going to file a dispute. And I was like, you're welcome to, but you've already acknowledged in these emails that those were the terms. You agreed to the terms. Like, whatever. But so the whole article was like, clearly I could tell she's trying to smear me, basically, of like, it laid out. She's like, look, these were the terms and I did agree to them, but just know she does not make any exceptions. She's like super doesn't care and whatever.
She held her boundaries.
Yeah, initially I was a little bit upset because obviously I could tell the intent was to make me sound bad. And the more I thought about that, because it sat in my mind for a bit, I was like, that's actually an amazing article. Put the world on notice that I set boundaries with my terms and I stick to them. But it was the initial emotion of it was not great. Yeah. Does anyone else want to share a difficult situation, or do we want to move on? Kate, go.
Yeah, I have a long list of them that I could share. But what I'll say is I can echo everything that's been said too. I have had plenty of refund requests. I have had plenty of people threaten me either to file a dispute, which I've won every single dispute except one. And it was an actual scammer that like got into my site, scraped my entire course in 1 hour, and then filed these disputes. They actually went through on 3 months of payment plans. And I lost that one. I was like, this was the one that was like actual fraud. But I have always won all of my disputes because of my terms and conditions, and everything is very explicitly laid out. But I agree, like I've had people who filed disputes for things that were clearly delivered exactly as they wanted. I've had people who file a dispute without ever even reaching out to us to say, hey, I'd like a refund, or I'm not happy with this, or I can't find this. They just file a dispute as if it's nothing. And it's like, this is such an impact on small businesses. Like I personally would rarely file a dispute, especially not before reaching out and actually just trying to work with another human, because most people are human. All people are human, obviously, but most people can be human about this. But the one thing I was going to share that's different is I actually had an employee situation back in, I think it was 2021. And it's funny because it's just like what Jordan's saying. You guys, I don't know. I was so anxious about what happened, and basically out of the blue, she quit to my ops manager instead of quitting to me. She lives across the street from me still today. And she threatened to burn my business to the ground. Literally, those were her exact words. She called me horrible names. She said she was going to expose me for the fraud that I am, which was based on literally like nothing. I wasn't actually afraid of anything she could expose because I really felt like you don't have anything on me. I don't know what you're talking about. But it was the hardest thing I've ever gone through in my business, I think, because this woman was a friend. She was a neighbor. She still is a neighbor. She came to my daughter's birthday party. Like we worked together for almost 2 years and we had a real relationship, and something snapped in her, and I'm not saying I'm totally blameless in this situation, but the way that it was handled was so stressful. And I definitely remember thinking at that time, I'm not cut out for this. I should just close my business. I definitely should never have another employee or even a contractor. Like, I'm the worst. And now, 5 years later, you can almost look back on it and laugh. It's still a little, oh, that hurts so much because it was like such a relationship. But I think the moral of this story is going to be, like, of this roundtable is going to be that people are unwell and we have no idea what's going on in people's lives. I did come to find out later that, like, she was going through a divorce and her mom was in the hospital and there was like a lot of personal stuff that I didn't know about. I think oftentimes these things say a lot more about that person than they do about you. So I hope if anybody has experienced anything like what we're sharing here, that you'll know at the end of the day, sometimes you just have to let people be wrong about you and say, I know the truth. And I feel like as long as I can stand in integrity with how I behaved, and even if I made a mistake, how I handled the mistake or how I handled the situation, like, sometimes that's just all you can do.
Yeah, no, I like that. Does anyone else want to add anything before we move on? No? Okay. I'm just curious, and I don't know if I gave you guys this question or not, and I apologize if I didn't. I thought I did. Have you noticed or have you come to see like a pattern of like earliest signs that people might be difficult to deal with later? Is anything that like jumps out?
Yes. Love bombing. Like, I feel like it's very similar in relationships. Sometimes when somebody comes in real hot and is, I can't believe I found you, you're going to save me. And they like just have like and it feels really good at first. You're like, oh my gosh, this person loves me. A lot of times those people have gone on to be a little cray.
I like that. Anyone else have one they've noticed? No. Moving right along. So I want to know what boundaries you guys enforce that maybe you didn't before, that it was like a lesson learned of having to set a boundary. Oh, Destiny's ready.
I mean, I'll just jump in here. One thing that I'm very clear on, and I tell the contractors that I'm working with me that this is something that they can enforce. I have a zero tolerance policy for people being mean. So when anybody comes in, and I'll just use Hobby School as an example, if anybody comes in to one of our free events and they are complaining about something openly without even contacting us, or they have sent a really mean and nasty email to one of my contractors or our help desk, I'm like, you have permission to kick them out of the event, unsubscribe them from our email list, block them from our Thrive Card account so they cannot purchase from us. We don't want those type of people in our world. Or same thing, if they're posting on social media and they're being nasty there, I have a zero tolerance policy for that. And we will absolutely basically just cut them off immediately with no warning. They don't even have to warn them.
And you don't have to tell them either, right? You don't have to even waste your time responding or explaining. It's just, you're done.
We're done. We will just unsubscribe them, basically block them, do whatever. We don't have to deal with them. We don't deal with those type of people. Now, if they have a valid concern and they're nice about it, that's a different story.
The thing is, you guys can have in your policies, no shoes, no shirt, no service. It's the same kind of idea of, look, we have the right to refuse service to anybody. Just make sure that's in there, and that's going to protect you a long way. I also love, if anyone even threatens a dispute, I don't care whether they follow through or not, it's an immediate blacklist. I don't want you as a customer in the future. 100% blacklist that. Don't buy from me. You do. Who else has boundaries that they have learned from? Or
One of mine that I was thinking about was, this sounds nuts now, but when I first started my business, we didn't have any policies for like refunds and stuff. And I found us getting in this place where me and my business manager, Rebecca, or me and my VA were always having these conversations. And it was almost like, whose trauma is bad enough to deserve a refund? And we'll say it was just really stressful because if you don't have policy
I don't think you can be fair. And I was like, I can't treat everybody the same. And then it's, how can I say this person deserves a refund and this person doesn't, just based on, oh, their trauma is bad enough or their situation is bad enough. They can have their money, but this person can't. And so I guess for me, the boundaries are really been like terms and policies that are just the same pretty much for everyone. And we just follow the policy. I think that just takes the emotional kind of component out of dealing with this stuff away. And it also allows my team to handle that stuff a lot without me. I usually only have to get involved if it's like, if something's really, I'm like, if somebody's really unhappy or something's really broken or something's really wrong, then I have to step in. But most of the time, the team is able to handle it because we have the policies. They just follow the policy.
I think that's so true. Something I heard someone talk about a few years ago is it's actually kinder to uphold your policies, because otherwise it's exactly what you said. You're judging people on case by case, depending on how good they are. And some people will give you all of the reasons, and some people are genuinely struggling but won't. And it's really how good they are at making you think that they need it. I don't know. And being kind to everyone, including yourself and your own business, is just having a policy and sticking to your policy and your boundaries across the board. I think so many of us, like heart-led business owners, like we care and we don't want to screw people over and stuff, but actually it doesn't work that way. And to be kind to everyone across the board actually is having policies.
Yeah, because just $100 can make a difference for the customer, like getting it back. I have these terms in place, so I knew that $100 was mine at this point. Like, it makes a difference for small business owners too, right? It's both sides. So no, I think that's a great point. Anyone else? Yeah. So we'll move it right along, but let's go ahead and actually dig in. What are your kind of refund, policies or philosophies, and has it changed over time? And I think we've all kind of talked about having a policy is important, and doesn't mean you can't find other ways to be generous if people ask for a refund and it doesn't meet your terms. I think in the past, what I've done is like, hey, I can't give you a refund. These are our terms. But if this is truly not a product you're going to use, I'd be happy to cancel that and give you credit towards something else. Just to provide a solution, but it's not violating my policies. It's still upholding those. What are some other kind of refund policies or philosophies that you guys have learned and used?
Go ahead,
Okay.
Kate. Sorry.
Okay. I was going to say, I have tried lots of different refund policies over the last decade plus of doing this. And I feel like I'm in a place now where I've found what feels good for me. But I think there's no one right answer. It really does need to be like business owner to business owner. But I used to do refund within a certain period of time. Usually it was like 2 weeks, but you had to prove that you tried it. And so this was, I think I got this idea from Amy Porterfield way back in the day. And I liked that it was like, you can't, like, it was supposed to get the tire kickers out, right? Like people who were just going to come in and like never do anything and then go, oh, I want a refund. It didn't work. You didn't even try. You didn't do it. But I found that it made it so difficult. And sometimes people are like, I didn't need to try. Like I could tell that this wasn't going to work for me. Not that maybe this doesn't work as a blanket statement, or this wasn't the right fit for me, or they had to. And I've been in programs that have had that, where to get a refund, the amount amount of work that you had to do is, this is not worth the refund because it's my time that's going to have to go into this. And so I got rid of that. I went to a no refunds policy, period, because a lot of what we sell is digital products. And it felt, once I've given it to you, it's yours. It's not like a shirt where you could keep wearing it after you return it. Like, it's hard to manage. So no refunds felt clean. But then I felt like that didn't really feel like an integrity with me either. And so I think it was last year, maybe 2 years ago, I switched to a 7-day refund policy, no questions asked. And so if you get in and take a look and you decide it's not for you, then you can get a refund. You don't even have to tell us why. Of course, we're going to ask you for our own feedback, but you don't have to tell us. We're not going to decide your refund based on your answer. And that has felt so much better to me. And interestingly, I think our refunds have gone down. And I think we make more sales because people feel safer to buy and be able to figure out, is this going to be the right thing for me? Whereas before they were like, oh, I don't want to risk it. And I really feel like I stand behind the quality of our product. So I wasn't too worried that people would get in and then say, oh, actually, I don't want this, sucks. Most people get in. And I say most people, 98% plus get in and say, this is great. I would never want to refund anyway.
Yeah, I don't want to say I've always had this because 10 years, I can't think of everything I've ever launched, but I have always had there's a no refund policy, and that's what's felt good to me. Now, the reason I remember starting out my business, the reason for having that was because, again, when I was a single woman, that was like my livelihood for my business. If I didn't make money, then I'm not eating, right? So I didn't have a husband or anybody to fall back on. And so if somebody was sending me money, like I needed that to pay the rent and my food, and like very closely related to my livelihood. And then ever since then, I have like thought, okay, do I need to rethink this, or does this still feel good to me? And for me, it just does, because I know that for me, whenever I purchase something, like I'm never thinking like, how can I back out of this? Like I just think of either I am giving money, and even if I learn one thing from this, will I still be okay sending this $37, this $1,000, this upwards of $24,000? That's a decision that I have to make. And so there really was I think there's only been 2 times where I've even asked for a refund in 10 years in business. And one had to do with someone saying I had instant access, but then when I got in there, it was drip. And then I had to do a quiz after every module in order to get access. And I was like, this isn't my learning style. And you said I got instant access, and like, I actually only need, technically, like the one thing I wanted to pay for was in 7, and you're telling me I got to go 1 through 6 and waste my time in order to get there. And they didn't give it to me, and that's fine. So then I was like, okay, whatever, call it a wash. And then this other time was just, again, like a values mismatch that ended up happening. But even if I didn't like the investment that I made, like I want to stand firm in every investment that I'm making. That doesn't mean that this is everyone's philosophy. This is just mine. But I like when people, and again, if someone doesn't like something or is confused, like I'm obviously available on email. And the rarity, there's times people forget that they bought something for me. So when I see them come through 2 or 3 times, and I'm like, okay, I'm just, hello, you already have this. I'm just going to send you a refund. That happens more. I haven't got asked for a refund in, I don't know, a hot minute. Definitely. Like, I don't even remember the last time, just because in my checkout pages, I have the little checkbox of I agree to the terms and conditions. And I added the language of I agree to the terms and conditions of no refunds. It's like you have to check it, and it literally, you can't even buy it unless you check saying I understand that I won't get any refunds and I agree to those terms and conditions. So that for me that's been the cleanest thing for me. And so I'm sticking to it. Like I don't see myself changing. And that doesn't mean you need to come to my side, but I know my side is a little controversial, but I have a lot of peace. So for me, that feels good.
I will say there is a rule coming out of the EU regarding refunds. It's supposed to take effect next month. I gotta dig more into it. I know there's exceptions for digital products, but it might be something you have to like update your terms to cover. Just FYI to everybody. And I think, so that kind of leads into our next question is what systems have reduced refund requests from you? You just said they have to agree to no refunds when they check out. I've actually since they use ThriveCart and they've added that functionality to add a specific refunds term, I've started using that as well. I need to go back and update older products, I think, but I do think that definitely helps. Does anyone else have sort of some systems or policies that have helped reduce refund requests for you?
I could tell you on our checkout pages for Hobby School, and I have to be it's different in the B2C market than it is for my B2B brand. I can't even think about when I've ever done refunds there, but my B2C brand, just the volume there, you're getting a lot of people coming in. People forget. It's just a different beast. But on the checkout page, I put it very clearly because we do refunds within 14 days, and that's just being our standard there. I feel good about that because they're having to make a decision very quickly, right? It's on the tripwire, so I felt better about doing that 14-day for that particular offer for our VIP passes, but it is on the checkout page. It does say that 14-day deadline.
Anyone else?
I will say that some of the stuff Jordan was saying was making me think about how it's just really important to act in integrity with your own values with this. I am not someone who would ask for a refund unless there was genuinely something missold. I'm paying for something right now on a fixed term and I'm not using it, and I'm annoyed that I'm not using it, but I'm going to finish my payments and I'm not going to ask for a refund. Sometimes people are clearly looking at their expenses from months back and trying to claw back money, and it's just really unfair. Anyway, I'm not going to go on a rant about it, but the importance of being in integrity. And I know for some people, not to get into a debate about countdown timers and urgency and all of that stuff, but for some people, their version of being in integrity when they use that kind of urgency is to have a refund period, because then at least they know if they're giving people a reason to make a really fast decision and encouraging them to make that decision more quickly without necessarily having certain time to think it through, then they know that they can ask for a refund. So it is an option that I know that some of my clients use to help them feel integrity. Personally, I don't offer refunds. It feels a lot easier and cleaner for me right now, and it is in my terms. But yeah, just think about what is in integrity for you as well.
It makes me think too about failed payments, which are their own form of a refund. It's not necessarily money that you had that's taken back, but it's money that you were counting on that is not completed. So I don't know if there's a question coming up about that, Liz, but that might be a good direction to go to.
We can go ahead and pivot to that direction. I did not have that on my list, but I think that's a great, it's definitely a dark side of business, and it sucks.
It's a huge pain. It's a huge pain.
Anyway, I think, I understand that some people really do get themselves into a situation where they cannot make their payments. And when those people communicate that to us and we come up with a repayment plan or we figure something out, of course, that's just cost of doing business and totally expected that there's going to be some of that. The people that just drop off or treat what to me is I graciously offered a payment plan, even though I'm not a bank, so that I could make this accessible to you. And now you're treating me not only like a bank, but like garbage, and just like that you don't have to fulfill the obligations. And we have lots of terms everywhere on our site, especially for anything it's not a subscription. And we say that very clearly of this is not a membership. This is not a subscription. You are legally obligated to complete all 6 or 12 or whatever the payments are, right? And people just ghost you. We have some people that fail every month, but then they fix it eventually, and then they'll fail again. And it's just this whole thing. But I do think it is the dark side of business. And some people in our mastermind have decided not to offer payment plans for that reason. And I get tempted to sometimes when I look at how much money we have. I hesitate to even use the word lost, but for lack of a better term, lost because of that. And when I look at the data, I can also see that we made a lot more sales than we would have made without the payment plan. And that because of the policies and the procedures we have in place, if somebody fails their payment, they are immediately removed access from the program. Right. And we really only have one offer right now that has a payment plan. So they get removed access completely from the program immediately. And it's not ever reinstated until they finish out their payments. So sometimes I think of it as I got $200 from somebody that I would have gotten $0 from if I only had the pay in full, and they don't have access to it anymore. And to me, it's still worth it for me to offer that, but it is a huge pain in the ass.
Yeah, I'd say I fall into the same sort of thinking of I still got that much and they no longer have access. The one thing that just pops in mind is I should really set up a system that if someone's failed a payment, they're not allowed to buy from me again until they complete. That's a little trickier, I think, to set up. And of course, now I'm going to go brainstorm that. But because I think I don't want to blacklist them necessarily. There's a lot of different reasons. People use different email addresses so they don't see that they failed the payment or something. There's a lot of work. It's not, a lot of times I don't think people are blatantly ignoring the fact that the payment failed, right? I think they don't see it or they don't realize until they go try to log in and they can't, or they finally do see that email and it may have been 6 months ago or whatever. But I think that would actually be a great system to implement then, is if someone's trying to buy something from you, or even if it's a freebie from a bundle. Sorry, You still owe me money.
I wanted to add to this because I used to, this was obviously way back because I had a business for ages, but I used to, like, payments would fail because I didn't move money around or whatever. And I used to think it didn't matter, like, that I didn't tell people. Like, I don't know why, but I just want to anyone listening who thinks it's okay and it doesn't matter and it doesn't cause a problem, eventually it will go through, please communicate. So I was that person and I realized it does matter and it does make a difference. I had a situation where I ran a summit back in September last year, and it was like an unprecedented number of payment plans. And this is a payment plan on a fairly low cost offer. And yeah, unprecedented amount of payments were failing and no responses. And I was just getting absolutely sick of it. I don't normally complain publicly about this stuff, but I went in my Facebook group at the time, don't have a Facebook group anymore, but at the time, and I was like, please know it is not okay. If you notice a payment failing for a fixed thing, it's not a membership, please be proactive. Don't ignore it. Don't ignore the emails. And you're right, Liz, people don't always see them. So there are always genuine reasons. But if you see that failed payment in your bank app or your bank statement, please be proactive. We are never angry when someone contacts us and explains or asks for a different payment plan. We can talk about it. Maybe we won't be able to offer it. Maybe we will. But when you don't reply, it's such an admin burden. And this is probably down a whole other rabbit hole, but there are reasons why we charge a bit extra for payment plans as well. And it's all of this stuff. So please, if you are like I used to be, don't be like that. Just communicate, really, and we'll work together. So I'll stop ranting about that now.
I would also like to share, I know that, again, all of us have our different attorneys, but I remember when I was running my big group program, I had 3 different attorneys, which was a nightmare, but helpful. And one of my attorneys has basically a blacklist. And so she is an attorney for a lot of people across the industry. So then when something came up, so if a student was trying to do something, pull one over, I'd be like, hey, can you check this name and email on your blacklist? And if they aren't on there, then she actually adds them and adds a little note about what's going on. And so again, there are people who go and bop and do this across a bunch of people. And because she has so many clients in the space, she's able to cross-check and also have evidence of patterns if someone tries to come at people crazy, because she's, I already have 3 other clients that you've done this for, and evidence of such. So also, if you're like, oh, I can get away with this and whatever, not that everybody has the same attorneys, but I thought that was very helpful and was a big selling point for me of going with her, because I was just like, I don't do well with unwell. Okay.
And
I just really don't.
People talk. So we have a mastermind. You better believe that we name names sometimes when we go, oh my God, I just got screwed by this person. And people will say, who is it? And we've all gone and then blacklisted those people from our list, deleted them. I want nothing to do with this person. So I'm sure everybody here is lovely and would never do anything like this, but tell your friends.
Save your friends.
Yeah.
But do not post it publicly because you could get in trouble with data privacy laws.
Correct. Just in your little groups, you can chat.
Yeah, just plain secrets. Don't be
leaking gossip.
Yeah. Sorry.
I had a pretty big mindset shift around some of this stuff. It used to be a really big energy leak for me, and I've always offered payment plans. We offer interest-free payment plans. I have a 2-week, no questions asked refund policy. And so I always feel like we're being really generous. And so when people, I felt, were not being generous back and making us chase them down and being non-responsive, in the beginning of my business, it felt really personal to me. It was this is my work. How could you do this? And now I'm laughing because I'm just so detached from it. Now I just feel like I have the policies. The team sends the emails when the payments fail. I know some people are not going to finish their payment plans, and I'm that's okay with me. I think the thing that really helped me as far as getting triggered and my nervous system reaction to all of that was padding at my freaking savings account, where I don't need that money. So of course I need money for the business, right? But I'm also a marketer. I believe in my ability to go make other money if I need it. And I wrote my email about this, that when Matt and I had our Airbnb our property manager contacted us and said, hey, these people had booked for this really big weekend and they just got to the house and they want a refund and blah, blah, blah. We didn't have to give them a refund, like at all. Like they were not entitled to any refund. And I just told Matt, give them their money back. I'm like, it's just not worth dealing with. And him and the property manager kind of like, what? And I'm like, they're going to be in our home. They're going to be around our neighbors. Like, it's just not worth it. They could leave bad reviews. They could slander. I'm like, just give them their money back and send them on. And I think that's been a big, I don't know, just sometimes it's just not worth dealing with to me. And I'm like, I'll just go get the money somewhere else. And I just cut ties with people energetically. And sometimes giving the refunds too has been a way of like closing things out for me that actually feels good, right? So it doesn't always have to feel like your boundaries are being pushed over or anything like that. It can feel like, yeah, this is a relationship that needs to end. And I'm happy to give you this money back and not be connected to you in any form anymore. And so those are just some mindset things that help me as someone who's at different times been very in a codependent relationship, I would say, with my business. And have been able to just feel, I really don't feel dysregulated by it at all anymore. It's like some people are going to buy and pay the whole thing, and some people are going to buy and not pay the whole thing. And it's all good to me. Like, I know we have the processes to deal with it. And I know I have the ability to go make more money if I need to. And I know I have plenty of money sitting in the bank account.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, Liz. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say this leads perfectly into the question of what mindset shifts have helped you to handle these better.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. Oh, well, I'll just second what Faith just said. And I had another difficult kind of experience in business that wasn't about a refund, but some of you might know I sold a business in 2021, and the buyer of that business had access to a lot of my accounts, of course, as we were doing things. Anyway, to make a long story short, she ended up stealing over $25,000 from me over the last couple of years, even as recently as 2025. And some of it was, anyway, I don't even need to get into all of it, but it was horrible. And I contacted her. I talked to the mastermind about it a ton. I spoke to 3 different lawyers trying to figure out what my options were. And ultimately, I came to the same decision because of the mindset that Faith did, which was, this is not worth my time and energy. I can go make $25,000 faster and easier than I can chase this money down and claw it back and go after this woman who I think is a horrible human being, but also is a human being. And I don't know why she's doing this or what's going on with her, but she's a mom. And I don't know. I just changed my mindset a bit to just be like, what if she doesn't have the money and I'm going to take like from her kids' food, like to pay me this money? Like, no, I'm at a certain point, the energetic leak and how negative and scarce it made my mindset was just like, this is not worth it. I got to just walk away. And yes, the like justice warrior part of me was like, this is so unfair. I can't believe I would do that. Just let this happen. But ultimately, it was totally the right call. And I more than made that money back.
I think you handled it amazingly, Kate. And my question to you is because that's a lot of money. Like, it's not just like one refund request. That's like a huge thing. And it's that sense of justice as well, right? I'm guessing you had to process that, like anger or shame. I think shame as well. All of those feelings, you had to feel those feelings. Not that you should have been ashamed, but I know that you had feelings around like, how could this happen? You got to process and feel those feelings, right?
Yeah, definitely. And it wasn't like a one-time thing where she like quickly stole 25 grand. There was multiple scenarios and ways that she did this. So that was like the lump sum at the end of it. But yeah, one of the situations was somewhat like it was a mistake on my part. My Kartra account was still linked to my old PayPal and I didn't realize it. And so all of my sales that were going through PayPal were getting deposited into her account. And she knew it. She knew, oh, I have $8,000 this week that I didn't have before, and I don't even sell this thing and whatever. But I had a panic attack when I first realized that it was happening, like an immediately just total shame attack of like, how could I have been so negligent? How could I have missed this? I can't believe I did this. I was so mad at myself. And it took, yes, lots of, I mean, there was definitely like therapy that was needed. There was a lot of talking with y'all. I went to lunch with Destiny and we really talked about a lot of the, okay, what are the practical things that you could do here and how realistic are these and what are the outcomes, and weighed the options. And yeah, it was definitely a lot to process. And I appreciate you saying I handled it well, because this really didn't feel like I was handling it well. But
I feel like I put you a bit on the spot there, like grilling you about it. But I do think it's amazing to share how you really felt and how like it is hard. It's really hard sometimes. Sometimes it feels like this business we're in is harder than other jobs, although I'm sure it's a lot easier than a lot of other jobs at different times as well. But it's really helpful just to hear everyone go through this stuff. And I'm sure you've learned like really important lessons. I know I've learned lessons from all of the times when I've had not a situation at that level, but when these things have happened, I've always learned something about myself or about my policies or about what I could do differently next time. Yeah. But just thanks for being open. And I hope it's helpful for everyone here listening as well. And to know that we blame ourselves sometimes when we really shouldn't, but let's not blame ourselves for blaming ourselves. Like, it's a human response.
Yeah. So sometimes the best you can do is figure out how to prevent it from ever happening again. Update your policies if need be, which I've definitely done that, where I'm going to make this crystal clear because apparently it wasn't before. Let me update and then move on, as much as it sucks. But sometimes that's the best solution, because especially as business owners, like, I'm a solopreneur. I don't have any VAs. I don't want any VAs. I know some of you do, but like, you already have so much on your plate. It doesn't matter. There's already so much to do. To have to carry that as well is just sucks. Sometimes you have to stand your ground. Kate, we talked about that, but sometimes it's the best thing is just make sure it doesn't happen again and move on.
Well, I want to say one quick thing, and then I feel like we have to turn this over to Destiny for what would Destiny do mindset, because she's our resident bulldog. But I'll just say about the like beating yourself up, because I do think, and this can happen, like you get a refund request and maybe it's even legit. Maybe you're like, dang, that wasn't as good as it could have been, or, ooh, I wasn't clear about that, or I missed this, or whatever it is. Like, we all make mistakes. And I think that, at first I really beat myself up and I was so like ashamed that I had missed it. And then ultimately I was like, of course you're going to miss some things. Like, some balls are going to be dropped. Like, you're one person and you're managing a whole life and a whole business. And once I just put it in perspective of just, of course, stuff like this is going to happen. It's shitty. And I wish that this person wouldn't have taken advantage of my honest human mistake, but here we are. And so we've referenced this a couple times, but we do have, and the stickers, what would Destiny do? And Destiny has beautiful boundaries. And I think why we all love it so much is because Destiny is also one of the kindest, most generous people that we know. And so it's not, we're saying, oh, sick the asshole on them, because Destiny has this wonderful way of holding the boundaries and being kind. And so I feel like you need to share some of your mindset, Destiny.
I don't know if I'm perfect here for sure, but I think I'll just talk about a situation that happened to me this week because it's just fresh in my mind. And then I'll talk about the mindset that I really had to go to, because I was getting very angry from this. But it was basically, I was going into my Facebook business manager for my ads, and we were running ads for our event that we had this week, which was an eco creative summit for hobby school. And people are crazy. I don't even know how to say that. People are crazy. So I was reading some of these comments on this ads, and it was things like, one of the images was basically talking about how you can take things around your house and do crafts with them. And there were some pictures of the tubes, like for paper towels or the tubes from like toilet paper in there. And there was like comments on there, you can't use that. There's fecal matter on that and just stuff like that. It was just, or why are you using AI-generated images on your ads and claim to be eco-friendly? And I'm thinking to myself, oh my gosh, I'm going to freaking lose it. And then people were saying stuff like, and this was related to when they sign up for the event on the next page, there's a tripwire offer, and they're basically calling it pressure sales. Why are you doing the pressure sales on me? You said this was a free event. And I went and actually looked at who was saying that in the comments, and it was other freaking businesses. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, I got to figure out how to respond to this. So I had to calm myself down, change my mindset. And some of them I responded to, some of them I didn't. And sometimes I just said, okay, it is a free event. You don't have to purchase the VIP pass, but we are a business and we are here to make money. And a lot of people love having our VIP pass because they get lifetime access to the workshop. So I would go in there, and I think there were like 2 comments like that. But those type of things are going to come up when you have a business. So you really I had to regulate myself because I was getting very angry. And then I was like, okay, I'm going to respond to some of these. Some I'm just going to ignore. And then I'm going to close this and walk away from it. And that's how I handled it.
I also, knowing you, Destiny, you are doing so much in your life and your business. You do not have time for it, right? None of us have time for it. But like, you don't have time to mess around. And it is, like Faith said earlier, such an energy drain that even if we are doing other things, when it's there in the back of your head and you're stewing over it, it just gets in the way of so much. And you can never, ever please everyone. You just can't.
And that's the important point here. You can't please everybody. I'm like, some of those comments on these ads about a free event, I'm like, these people have more time on their hand. I don't know. They are obviously less busy than I am to come up with some of this.
I think we're going to call it there. So let's go ahead. If you guys want to each share sort of what gift you have. Kate, I'm going to start with you just because that's where you are on my screen.
Okay, great. I know we didn't even get to talk as much about all the hermits, we're the hermits, all the trolls and just negative comments and how much that can drain you too. So we'll bookmark that for next time. So my freebie is, y'all know I'm the social free girl. I created a free tool that you can enter your bio and pick a stage of business that you're in. And then you'll get 10 custom prompts just for your business. They're hyper specific about how you can grow your business without social media. And these prompts are really cool. You can put them into Claude and like it will generate different assets for you that can help you in your social free business. Or if you're not social free and you just want to rely on it less, it'll give you some ideas too.
All right, Destiny.
Yeah. So going back to the what would Destiny do? I did create a Claude skill for you. Basically what I did, I had it pull a lot of different scenarios based on how I specifically handled those scenarios. So you can download that Claude skill in the links in the document.
All right. Yeah. And I did share that link in the chat. I'll share it again in just a moment. Ruth.
Sorry, just busy typing in the chat. I have an AI sales toolkit to help you take some of the cognitive, use AI to take some of the cognitive load out of stuff that you need help with to do with selling, and it will help you figure out what that is. And there's a link in the document.
All right, Faith.
My offer is called The Coaching Files, and it is a replay from a coaching call from an event I did a while ago. If you are feeling stuck in your business and need some outside perspective or somewhere to bounce ideas around, we do that in my community. And so you can watch the call. And if you need help, reach out.
And Jordan just shared her Instagram in the chat. And then my gift is I actually put together a little mini ebook on winning payment disputes that walks you through how to handle them. I even have evidence that I've shared. Obviously, I've redacted any personal information. But as an example, so if you're not sure what to put in your evidence while dealing with the dispute, that book will help you. And it is also in the doc. So thank you all for joining us today. We are the Weird Hermits, and we run these roundtables every other month. And if you have ideas for topics, I provide the link in the chat where you can submit them, because we love not having to come up with the topic ideas ourselves. But yeah, and hopefully we'll see you guys at the next one. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Thanks for listening all the way to the end. I hope you enjoyed this episode today. If you loved the show, I'd appreciate a review on Apple Podcasts or your favorite podcast platform. Have a great rest of your day, and bye for now.